Hello, welcome back to a channel. I'm Laicy, and this
Mary.
is Mary, astrology goddess. You also are so good at wanting to do rituals and moon rituals, and you like really kind of embrace this idea of living with the moon. You've wanted to embrace this idea for a long time. A witch crossover, right? Because astrology meets witchcraft, like moon rituals. Bring the witchy rituals. Oh shit, I should probably put on a hat then, shouldn't I? What the fuck am I doing? God.
Here we go.
Let's do it.
Feels really significant because Aquarius is a very common ground for Laicy and I. We were just talking about how incredible it is that her sun and my moon share the same degree, which we found out through a synastry chart that we did. And it was so fun to learn like that we have some exact degrees in common, and that's one of them. Aquarius, we share a lot of Aquarius energy.
Mm-hmm.
and just who they are. Like we talk about embracing our shadow side and like understanding that. I mean, what better thing could we give a kid than, to embrace their shadow side early on, right? So it's like that can be had early, right? We can embrace it in more constructive ways instead of it just being a battle. There's more compassion. So I think it's a really, really useful tool. Really super useful.
Yeah, something that it helps me with, like knowing my daughter who's 15, so she's at the teenager phase, And I remember hearing like, oh, teenager phase, you're going to have a horrible relationship with your child and all that stuff, And while definitely there is friction, I know why there's friction. I can see now like, oh, that's because the way I want to revolutionize is not the way that she wants to revolutionize or think of things differently, right? She craves more of a tradition. And so we kind of pull on each other sometimes, or think ways in which we get along, right? Where I actually have the ability to talk to her about sex and sexual things because some of the asteroids, and some of the planets like Venus, and stuff like that, they're in a similar placement. So our suns are shining on them. We're both Aquarius sun. So it's cool to be able to be like, oh, this benefits her, in a big way. And not totally hear talking or,
Yeah. I mean, who she is and who you are different, right? How do we meet? How do we see each other? How do we embrace? I love that it's a conversation. It's at least a starter. It's a good starting point, like for a deeper relationship, understanding, empathy,
Speaking of Aquarius right now, we're about to celebrate the Aquarius full moon, y'all.
Yep, August 3rd. I can't lie. Personally very excited about an Aquarius full moon when that is my natal moon. That means that the moon was in Aquarius when I was born. So this feels like a very special spot. My inner world is represented by Aquarius, where Laicy's outer world is so very Aquarius. And I feel like we have a lot of beautiful balance because of that. Both love Aquarius energy though. So I think that this full moon is going to bring a lot of that. Like when I think of Aquarius, I think of the revolutionary, the visionary, right? The big picture thinker. Somebody who's like for humanities, like memes and running jokes about how like Aquariuses are like they care more about like the group more than like person, right?
Write in the comments what if you have an Aquarius sun or an Aquarius moon, write what your lived experience is in the comments. Write what it is that maybe a perspective you have. I think that'd be fun.
Or your Aquarius placements are. Maybe they're not sun or moon. Maybe you're Aquarius rising, or you have Aquarius Venus, something, right? But we're all up in these Aquarius vibes, and love to hear about other people's Aquarius placements. Laicy's husband has an Aquarius moon, also.
Yes.
We just love Aquarius. I can't get enough of it. My grandma was an Aquarius, and I feel like she gifted me some of her astrological energy. So Aquarius is that the kind of sign or the archetype that astrology falls into a lot of times. So like the 11th house. And I think it's because of that open-mindedness, right? that willingness to think outside of the box or to see other perspectives, the
Yeah.
openness. That's a very Aquarian theme. And so astrology is an easy sell for an Aquarian, right? Okay, I believe it, right? Give me that ancient wisdom, give me that star knowledge. An Aquarian will eat that shit up because it makes sense, right? To this dreamer, intellectual thinking type that's a good fit, you know?
We love delving into the shadow sides too. What are some of the shadow sides? We mentioned like detachment is a weakness. Aloof, I've heard. Although to be completely honest, I don't like looking at the weaknesses. I don't like thinking I have any.
Right?
So Aquarius of me.
I think misunderstood maybe can fall in there, eclectic.
Flighty.
I feel like Sagittarius sometimes gets that rep, and maybe like Pisces can relate to this too, right? Their head in the clouds, you will be kind of flighty, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's just maybe your priority is to be daydreaming and to be inspired and to be like thinking about the bigger things. But yeah, I think that sometimes if that is your priority, you might get a rep for being flighty or
something else about Aquarius too, because I've read that like sexually and in relationships, they don't like being tied down. They don't like being, tied into commitments or relationships. Tend to need freedom, right? Almost like freedom of thought. And I think sometimes that can be negative. Like if you have somebody who's very Cancer, who's like very family life, very home life, and then you're an Aquarius who's like, I need something else in my mind to not just be identified as, wife, mom, sort of traditional roles. I'm just going for traditional
girlfriend,
roles.
right? Totally. You hit on the next thing I was going to say. It would be like, okay, then the only other shadow that I can really think of for Aquarius, like I'm sure there's more out there, but in terms of like the big ones, right? The detachment, aloofness, and relationships. I think that you see a lot of more open sexuality from Aquarian. Right,
and he'll be down for having like more lovers or things like that. My husband, who has an Aquarius moon, and I'm Aquarius sun, he's a Virgo, but his sun is in the 7th house of committed partnerships. Is that where that one is? I think it's in the 7th house. Yeah, committed partnerships, right? So I have like a real big anchor there. So even though we've been, super more than happily married for 17 years, right? We have definitely been to clubs. We are fun. And my husband and I both have an understanding that we like various interests, if you will. So just putting that out there. If you're an Aquarius moon, has experienced that too. Comments.
My Aquarius moon fell in love with that. I mean, I remember years ago when you guys were first talking about it, and it was a little bit still taboo, right? Yeah. Because of the small town you were in and all the people and like, it was just, you guys had, it wasn't a problem of your conviction and your openness and your guys' willingness to be a part of
else who was like, what? But you can't. Yeah.
Right? But I remember just loving the expansion that my brain felt, right? Of like, what if you do have more love to give? What if, what you guys were saying at the time, and I'm sure this is still the same, but it probably evolved. But I remember this was like, you were saying you wanted each other to have as many experiences as you guys human
experience ever.
Yeah. And I was like, it made my brain, my Aquarius moon brain, like just so stoked to see people living in that reality of like, you deserve every experience that you want, and to be open, excited about it.
It requires lots of communication, lots of trust, little side note. And it also requires knowing that you are so loved by your significant other. You are so loved. You're so queen in his life. I feel so queen, so loved that of course he can visit another country. I'm his home. I'm where he lives. Right. Of course he can go visit Europe. It's fun, right? But he's going to come home to a Laicy, right?
I love that. Yeah, right. But that security, that trust, that like, depth of emotion, that ability to communicate, hard shit and like say the thing that, breaking convention, being a nonconformist, you know what I mean? Really saying, fuck this, fuck the patriarchy.
Yes. Oh my God. So when we're discovering people's charts and things like that, I know why I am this way because I've looked at my chart.
All of this Aquarius talk is just leading to the moon discussion of like what we like to do around moon energy.
Yes.
The specific vibe, the specific collective vibe of this moon is Aquarius, this full moon, right? This big, awesome full moon energy has an Aquarius flavor to it. That's why we're spending so much time talking about that Aquarius energy, and open relationships, because I feel like that's a very Aquarian. Now we want to talk a little bit about some of the rituals and routines and stuff that we do for full moon specifically, but also we do at other moon times too, like new moon, you know.
Yes.
Moon
so
water.
First, I would like to prepare. As you can see here, I have my altar out. I placed it out. I have air in the east, and what an altar just represents balance, right? Everything is made of 4 elements, or 5 if you consider spirit, right? So here I have fire. Here I have a little fire, but it represents my spirit, and I have a beautiful little unicorn in there. I know it's hard to see. And then I have air here, where I have this beautiful jar here. And then I have something called what I call my aethum, and it's really kind of cool. I got it from Jeff's aunt who passed away, but it has feathers on it representing air. And then I like that it has a tip on it so that I can write and carve in a candle, which we'll do momentarily. I have salt for earth, and I have water from the previous moon in there because I like to think of where I've come from.
Yes.
Yes. In my spirit, I want to think of what do I want to sort of be grateful for. Full moon is all about gratefulness. It's all about what are you harvesting, what has come to fruition. It's a time to be fucking grateful because in the new moon, which we did in Leo, I won't put that up, what we did when we were sowing the new moon, we were sowing expectations, or like we were sowing goals with a light expectation, because you never know how they're really going to come out. You know, right. Think about the thought seeds that you planted, you know? And so I wanted to talk about what I am grateful for. And what I am grateful for is perspective. I fucking love that as an Aquarius, I have perspective. So I'm going to write perspective on my candle. Perspective. And good news, the spirits don't care if it looks pretty. You won't be able to see it, but
good news.
It's really don't give a shit about a lot of things. It's really interesting. And then you can anoint it with oil, which, Mary, I believe you have like mint, you're writing in your mint candle for like extra protection and having that perspective to know, you know, how to deal with.
Yeah. Got a little fresh mint from my friend's garden.
Aww. And Mary makes candles, y'all. Mary can make you ritual candles.
I do. I really enjoy the therapeutic process of making the candles, but I also really love it. I only make them when I can have a nice quiet space to really like pour lots and lots of like intention and love energy into.
Yeah.
Other make them. So I make candles with lots of love.
Yeah, made with lots of love, lots of intention. And that is the most important thing. Imagination and intention. I swear it's the best. It's the most important thing. So I put some geranium oil on my little spirit perspective candle. And now I've got my little fire candle. What gets me going? What gives me fire? And I've already made a list of things here that we were talking about. And I think what I want to put on here, fire-wise, that I want to be thankful for is creativity. I'm really thankful for my Aquarian creativity. So I'm going to write on my candle here, creativity. I'm really glad also that the spirits don't give a shit if I can't spell. So that's awesome too. Thank you, spirits. Just saying.
Intentions are so beautiful, right? They require.
It's everything. It's everything, you know?
Right.
So I'm going to put some geranium. Geranium is a comforting oil. It's a protective oil. You know, I'm going to protect my creativity. You know, I want to protect my mind around that. I shine the way I shine on purpose.
Yeah, that's your Leo North Node, right?
Fuck yeah.
North Node is path to enlightenment. Laicy's is in Leo, which is be a shiny, bright star.
Yeah.
Accept all the attention.
Yes.
Know how amazing you are. Put it out there. Like that is your life's purpose. Like amped up. You know what I mean? That's
right.
It would be.
I put my fire in place, and now the other thing I want to do is, so it is an Aquarius, and we talked about that shadow side of being aloof, of being detached. You know, a lot of air on our minds, and people who have a lot of things they're thinking about, a lot of voices, can often experience anxiety, right? Something we dealt with in a previous thing. So what I like to do is I like to take a crystal. And this crystal right here is really pretty. I like how glittery it looks. It's an ametrine. It's like an amethyst purple, and it's got a bit of yellow from a citrine. And in I want to say it's West Africa. It's in Africa, where the lore is, it's the heaven and earth rock. It unites heaven and earth. Heaven being like amethyst, citrine being like earth rock. And so it marries the two. It marries my star, right?
Oh, that, yeah.
And it's so pretty, and I love it so much. When I hold this rock, and this is where this will be important too, you know, for intention. When I hold this rock, I was thinking about perspective and anxiety, and I was thinking of the perspective. If I went out of the earth like an astronaut and I rose above the earth would look really small to me, and then my problems therefore would seem very small in perspective, you know? Oh, we're running out of time again, Mary.
We just love what we do so much. It's hard.
So I like to think of having the perspective of a beautiful, of an astronaut. She's brave, she's adventurous, she's embracing all of that. She's going off, you know, to the stars, right? And she's leaving behind some of those problems, or she's rising above those problems, right?
Yes.
That's what she's doing. So if I think about my problem from that perspective, all of a sudden it's small, and the reality is my troubles are small. So if I think of that mantra, my troubles are small. So when I hold this rock, I'm going to remind myself my troubles are small.
I love that, because I feel like something that you could intentionally kind of embody, right? It's like an Aquarian vibe of being that astronaut, kind of. Yes, the shadow side is sometimes being detached, and but how do we use that in a positive way? We can say, embody that Aquarian astronaut and take that step back and be able to see that your problems from a relative perspective might be smaller. At that Aquarian astronaut that's detached, but has that beautiful perspective that things aren't as crazy and overwhelming as they seem right in front of you.
So the other thing you want to do on a full moon, you can charge your crystal. So if you imagine, I use the crystal, I remind myself. I'm kind of using the intention that I stored into it. It gets depleted after a while, right? I've had thoughts around it already, right? So what you can do on a full moon is you can put it out and you can charge your crystals. And what that is, you're using your imagination, and you're going, oh, hey, this is a time when my crystals are getting their power back, their juice back. I'm getting my juice back, my power back. I'm feeling full, right? So I'm using my imagination, and that's what I'm putting on it. That's the intention that I'm doing.
Right.
And then I put out full moon water. This has got to be one of my favorite things. I take old wine bottles that I lovey-dove, and this one has the Empress on it. Empress card. You know? And it looks like spring and summer, and it's beautiful. I put water in it, and then I put it out in the light of the full moon, you know, and let's say it's cloudy. Let's say the full moon can't get on it. Let's say you're putting it in a spot and the moon never gets on it. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it doesn't really matter. What really matters here is your intention, right? Now, before I set the intention for this moon, what I'm going to use this water for is I'll put it in tea. You know, I'll put it in tea and heat it up and drink tea and then think of what I'm grateful for, you know. I'll put it in my bath, you know, and then I'll remember, oh, that's right, I'm fucking grateful as fuck. Love it, right? So that's what I do with the moon water. And so I think I wrote down for the full moon, what I am grateful for is that the mistakes that I've made that got me here, from that perspective, those troubles helped me a lot to learn. Great teacher, get me here, right?
That is amazing. Yeah.
Right? They were excellent teachers. I'm grateful for my mistakes. Fuck yes. I'm always going to rise to the occasion. I like that my intuition is strong. Thank you, Laicy Strong Aquarius intuition, right? I love my clitoris so much. I'm going to be grateful for my clitoris when I put this water in because it's a feminine moon thing. If you have a clitoris, you totally get me right now. They're awesome. Love that my body and heart have expanded and contracted many times to birth creativity, inspiration, and a heartbeat, right? I birthed that shit, right?
Yeah, you
Birth that shit. Even if you've never had a physical baby, which I have, and let me tell you, that makes me feel strong as fuck, right? But even if I haven't, my heart has birthed a lot of babies, right? Thank you for a loving heart that has birthed so many creative, loving, empowering babies, you know?
right. Thank
So,
you for capacity to love. Yeah.
spread it around, moon goddess. Water out there. I'm going to be like, hey, moon lady, if you could just like fill this with like good love that I can pour back to myself in a tea or in a bath, that'd be awesome. I'm so grateful, you know?
Yeah, Laicy has taught me everything about moon water, and you answered most of the questions that I had when I first asked you, which was, can I put it out if it's like cloudy? And you're like, yep. And then also like what to do with it. And I loved that you told me like it's anything you want to bless, right?
Yeah.
So you use it to like bless things. Like
I love that. Anything.
that's you taught me that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, previous Laicy. Damn, you're smart.
I say that all the
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah, right? Anything I want to bless. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Anything I imagine, like a goddess being like, oh, would you like me to bless today, darling? And I'm like, oh, I want you to bless this thought. I love it.
Yeah.
So love and good karma.
It's the vibe, right? Like, what am I feeling right now? What do I want to, you know? And I love that. I think that was like the best way to put that.
Oh, so even if you don't have any Aquarius aspects in your chart, think perspective, be grateful for your intellect, your imagination, your creativity, your open-mindedness, all of these things, right? Be grateful for where that is in your life. Where can you associate that with?
Even if you don't have Aquarius specifically in your chart, you could still kind of step into that astronaut vibe of like, how do I kind of embody that even briefly, right? Maybe you don't have, maybe it's not comfortable, maybe it's not in your chart, that's fine. Yeah. But like, experiment. What would it feel like if I really took a deep step away from my, right? Or like that quote, like if everybody threw their problems into a pile and you saw everybody else's, you'd be really quick to pull yours back out, right? Like, how do you kind of have that perspective of like,
yeah.
Right.
Ooh, I love that, Mary. What a little nugget of wisdom. I shall eat that. Mary, right. I love you. Viewers, I love you. Oh my God, so much love. Call us if you want to work with us. Astrology, tarot, witchy shit. We love you. Mary, I love you.
Love you.
Oh my God, mush, mush.
Mush.
Yeah, love. And we'll talk to you later, y'all.